The boss pours the first drink. Not a waiter, not a junior staff member. The boss. Everyone watches. Nobody moves until the glass is full. Nobody drinks until the boss raises theirs. The most junior person at the table receives their glass with both hands, turns slightly away to drink, refills the senior's glass before their own. No one explained these rules. No one is reading from a manual. And yet, every person at this table is executing the same protocol with the precision of a system that has been running for centuries. You think Koreans really like to drink. That's not what this is. This is the most sophisticated social recalibration technology in any workplace culture on the planet. And alcohol is just the medium. This is K-Logic. And today, we decode the drinking culture algorithm. Korea is one of the heaviest drinking countries in the world. The statistics are unambiguous. Korea consistently ranks in the top tier globally for per capita alcohol consumption, with Soju, the clear distilled spirit that is the backbone of Korean drinking culture, holding the title of the world's best-selling spirit by volume for years running. The Hoesik, the company dinner that typically extends into multiple rounds of drinking, is a fixture of Korean professional life so embedded that it has its own dedicated vocabulary, its own etiquette system, and its own HR debates about whether it constitutes mandatory overtime. The international reading of Korean drinking culture is almost uniformly the same. Koreans drink a lot because of work stress, social pressure, and cultural permissiveness around alcohol. The drinking is a symptom of overwork, of hierarchy, of a culture that hasn't yet developed healthy boundaries between professional and personal life. This reading is not entirely wrong, but it is dramatically incomplete. It treats the alcohol as the point. The alcohol is not the point. Korean drinking culture, the Hoesik, the specific pouring rituals, the Paktanju, mean bomb shot the progression through multiple venues in a single evening. The specific social permissions that alcohol creates is one of the most precisely engineered social recalibration technologies in any workplace culture on the planet. It is a system for doing something that the Korean social operating system cannot do in its normal state. Temporarily suspending the hierarchy protocols, creating conditions for horizontal communication, generating Jeong accumulation between people whose normal interactions are governed entirely by the vertical logic of the Sunbihobi system. The alcohol is not the point. The suspension is the point. To understand why Korean companies have maintained this system for decades despite its well-documented costs, the health impacts, the next-day productivity loss, the exclusion of non-drinkers, the harassment that the suspension of protocols sometimes enables, you need to understand what problem it was originally designed to solve. And that problem is this. How do you build genuine human connection between people who, in their sober professional lives, are separated by a hierarchy so rigid that normal horizontal communication is structurally difficult? The answer that Korean corporate culture developed is both elegant and brutal. You create a temporary state in which the hierarchy is suspended. You make that state chemically induced. You make participation quasi-mandatory. And you run the Jeong accumulation protocol under those conditions. The Korean drinking culture algorithm runs 4 protocols simultaneously. Together they explain why the system exists, why it has persisted, and why it produces both the social cohesion and the social damage that it does. Protocol 1. The hierarchy suspension subroutine. Korean professional life runs on the hierarchy algorithm, the age-based, position-coded social operating system that governs every interaction between people of different status. In its sober state, this system produces efficiency, clarity of obligation, and social coherence. It also produces rigidity, the structural difficulty of genuine horizontal communication between people separated by hierarchical distance. The Hoesik creates a temporary exception state. When the senior person pours the first drink and the junior receives it with both hands, something specific is happening. The hierarchy is being acknowledged in its most formal register, and then, through the act of drinking together, temporarily dissolved. The shared intoxication creates a social permission structure that the sober hierarchy cannot produce. The junior can speak more directly. The senior can listen more horizontally. Feedback that cannot flow upward in the normal operating state can be transmitted under these conditions. Grievances that the Chemyeon system would make impossible to voice can be expressed, obliquely, carefully, but expressed. This is not a flaw in the system. It is a design feature. The Hoesik is the Korean corporate operating system's maintenance mode, the scheduled process that clears the accumulated friction of hierarchical operation and allows the system to reset for another cycle of normal functioning. Protocol 2, the Jeong acceleration engine. In normal Korean social operation, Jeong accumulates slowly, through repeated contact, shared small moments, the gradual buildup of emotional debt across multiple interactions over time. Alcohol accelerates this process dramatically. The shared vulnerability of intoxication, the loosened inhibitions, the revealed personalities, the moments of genuine human connection that alcohol creates, is one of the most powerful Jeong triggers available. Sharing a drinking session with someone in Korea is not just a social event. It is a compressed Jeong accumulation protocol, weeks or months of normal social bonding compressed into a single evening. This explains the specific structure of the Korean drinking session, the multiple rounds, the multiple venues, the progression from the formal restaurant to the norbang, karaoke, to the pojangmaka. Each venue represents a further step in the hierarchy suspension and Jeong accumulation process. By the third venue, colleagues who have worked together for years in formal hierarchical silence are singing together, sharing personal stories, building the emotional bonds that will sustain their cooperation through the next months of formal operation. The hangover is the price. The Jeong is the product. Protocol 3, the Chemyun pressure release valve. Korean professional life maintains extraordinarily high Chemyun pressure, the constant performance of competence, reliability, and correct social positioning that the reputation capital system requires. The Hoesik is the scheduled pressure release. Under the social permission structure created by drinking, the Chemyun calculation is temporarily suspended. Mistakes made, things said, moments of genuine human imperfection that occurred during the drinking session are covered by a specific Korean social protocol. What is said at the drinking table stays at the drinking table. This is not just a courtesy. It is a system feature. The Chemyeon suspension during the Hoesik is what makes it possible for Korean professionals to be human beings in their workplace relationships, to show vulnerability, to acknowledge difficulty, to express the pressures that the normal operating state requires them to conceal. Without this release valve, the Chemyeon pressure of Korean professional life would be unsustainable. The Hoesik is not a social indulgence. It is a system maintenance requirement. Protocol 4, the pouring ritual as social GPS. The specific rituals of Korean drinking, the two-handed receiving, the turning away to drink in the presence of seniors, the obligation to refill others' glasses before your own, the specific order in which drinks are poured, are not etiquette for its own sake. They are the Nunchi algorithm executing itself through physical gesture. Every pouring decision is a social positioning statement. Who pours first? Who receives first? Who refills whose glass? The speed of the refill. The attention paid to empty glasses. All of these micro-behaviors are simultaneously social acts and social data, each one transmitting information about the actor's understanding of their position in the room and their attentiveness to the positions of others. The person who fails to notice a senior's empty glass is not committing a rudeness violation. They are failing a Nunchi test, demonstrating that their social data processing is inadequate for the environment they are operating in. The person who refills every glass at the table before their own is not being servile. They are demonstrating a high-level execution of the social GPS, the ability to process the entire room's social data simultaneously and respond with precision. The drinking ritual is the Nunchi algorithm made visible. Every system has a shadow. The drinking culture algorithm's shadow is substantial, and Korean society is in the middle of a genuine, painful renegotiation of whether the costs are worth the benefits. The system was designed for a specific corporate context, male-dominated, hierarchically rigid, operating in an era when the social bonds produced by the Hoesik were genuinely essential to organizational cohesion in the absence of other trust-building mechanisms. In that context, the Hoesik's costs, the health impacts, the productivity loss, the morning after dysfunction, were weighted against its benefits, and the calculation came out in favor of maintaining the system. That context has changed, and the system has not kept up. The most significant shadow is exclusion. The quasi-mandatory nature of the Hoesik systematically disadvantages anyone who cannot or does not drink. Non-drinkers, people with health conditions, people with family obligations that make late-night drinking impossible, and women navigating a social space that the hierarchy suspension sometimes makes less safe rather than more. The Jeong accumulation that the Hoesik produces is real, but it is Jeong among the participants. Those who cannot participate are excluded not just from the social event, but from the relationship capital the event produces. And in a system where Jeong network position determines access to opportunities, information, and support, that exclusion has professional consequences. The Chemyun pressure release that the Hoesik provides is real, but the suspension of Chemyun norms that enables genuine human connection also sometimes enables behavior that would be impossible in the sober operating state. Harassment, boundary violations, the weaponization of the drinking context to extract compliance or information that the hierarchy could not produce directly. Korea's younger generation, the MZ generation navigating a workplace culture they inherited but did not design, is pushing back. The legal changes requiring overtime pay for Hoesik attendance. The growing normalization of declining Hoesik invitations. The cultural shift toward daytime team lunches and non-alcohol social events as alternative Jeong accumulation mechanisms. This is not the dissolution of the drinking culture algorithm. It is a system update, an attempt to preserve the social functions the algorithm performs while redesigning the medium through which it operates. The functions are real. The need is real. The question Korean society is actively asking is whether alcohol is the only medium capable of delivering them, or whether the medium can be upgraded without losing the output. The modern workplace has a connection problem, not a communication problem. Most modern workplaces have more communication infrastructure than any organization in history. Email, Slack, video calls, project management platforms, performance review systems. The information flows. The connection doesn't. The specific kind of connection that Korean drinking culture was engineered to produce. The temporary suspension of hierarchy, the compressed Jeong accumulation, the pressure release that allows human beings to be human beings with their colleagues, is precisely what most modern workplace cultures are failing to generate through any of their formal mechanisms. The team building day, the corporate retreat, the Friday afternoon social. These are attempts to solve the same problem that the Korean Hoesik was designed to solve. They almost universally fail to produce the same output because they operate within the normal social protocols rather than temporarily suspending them. What the Korean drinking culture algorithm understands, and what most Western workplace cultures have not figured out, is that genuine human connection between people separated by hierarchy requires a specific kind of permission structure. A time when the normal rules are explicitly suspended. A shared state that creates conditions for vulnerability and horizontal communication that the formal operating environment cannot produce. The medium, alcohol, is not the only way to create this permission structure. And Korean society is actively experimenting with alternatives. But the insight is real. You cannot build genuine connection inside the hierarchy. You have to step outside it. And that stepping outside requires a mechanism, a social technology, that both the senior and junior can use simultaneously and that both parties recognize as legitimate permission to operate differently. For the modern traveler at a Korean Hoesik, watching the boss pour the first drink, watching the junior receive it with both hands, the K-logic read transforms the experience. You are not watching a drinking ritual. You are watching a social recalibration technology execute itself. You are watching the hierarchy acknowledge itself, and then, through the shared act of drinking together, temporarily step aside. You are watching Jeong accumulate in real time. You are watching the Chemyeon pressure release. You are watching the Nunchi algorithm execute through the medium of a poured glass. And if you receive a glass with both hands, if you refill the glass next to you before your own, you are no longer an observer. You are running the protocol. K-Logic will continue decoding the invisible systems that make Korea one of the most logically fascinating societies on the planet. Because the blueprint was always there. You just needed to know what you were drinking to.